Hello, everybody. It's Friday. That means it's time for another topic of the week. First off, last week's topic, terrain. I got to give a big shout out. There were several good answers, but I got to give the big shout out this week to Paul Conti, who not only responded to the topic, but then went through and did a whole bunch of extra work on his video, telling you how to basically build your own Realm of Battle board on the cheap. Much cheaper than the $300 or whatnot that a real Realm of Battle board is, 300 plus. Plus, you have the benefit of having your own unique table, not like anything else that anybody else has, which I think does have a high amount of value because it's yours and yours alone. So there was a lot of good responses to the terrain thing. I know it's something I'm going to be working more on. My wallet doesn't thank Mel for coming on the show 2 weeks ago and inspiring me with lots of new ideas, so we'll see how that works out. But let's go to this week's topic. And this week's topic, well, there can be only one thing that we can talk about this week, and that is the GW FAQ on Age of Sigmar. This is a big deal. Like, this is such a big deal. I really can't understate how big of a deal it is. As we know, GW was always very slow with the FAQs previously, very pulled back from the community. And there was a lot of discussions this week about and that we've seen ongoing, their re-engagement with the community. We've talked about it in 2 different topics of the week already, so I'm not going to beat that drum. But this, to me, is just one more step. They were at South Coast reporting. They made the army bundles of the South Coast winners available on the website if you want to buy that army. And now this. And what's really great about the FAQ and why I'm doing this as a topic is because the FAQ that went up isn't the final FAQ. Okay? The FAQ that went up is, hey, this is what we're thinking. Take a look. See what you don't like. See what isn't clear. See what you think we got wrong. Interact with us. Tell us so we can make the final version. I don't even know what to say. That should be standard practice, one would think. So it's, we're kind of shocked about what should be the baseline here, to be completely fair. One would hope that that's exactly how most companies like this, they're, reliant on a healthy community to act. So it's good to see them finally acting like that, and that's a good thing. So here's the topic. Mitch already gave a big, long talk about this. Go check out Mitch's. He pre-answered this topic of the week. He put about an hour up going through the various answers. But what I want to know, of course, is reading over them, what do you like? What don't you like? Were there any surprises in there for you? Most things were more or less, so if you remember some time back on Warhammer Weekly, we did a rules sort of clarification discussion in Age of Sigmar for some of the grayer points. And I was happy to see that basically the FAQ agreed with more or less everything Tom and I said. But you can go back and watch that episode if you don't believe me. But it was, I think most answers were pretty much commonsensical and in line. There were a few surprises in there. And of course some big ones. The big one, of course, that everybody's talking about is the clarification on summoning. That yes, you can summon anything you want anytime as long as if you've got a Deathcaster, go to town. Time to get some undead up there or whatever, right? Summon them up. Whatever the case. You don't need to have them on the table. You don't need to have those scrolls, anything like that. But there was already a lot of people who were vouching for that and who were sort of supporting that. I think the one that was the funniest to me was the question about Archaon, because they said if you're supposed to attack model to model, there's no way, given Archaon's huge base, because he's on 160 mil round, and he has a tiny little tail, so like he looks like this. Right? Like, he's sitting, this much of him is touching, even though he's this massive model up here. He's got this sitting on the ground. How can this ever be within range of an enemy? And their answer was, well, the figs can just move up onto Archaon's base. Nope. Get out of here. Like, that was the one that I read that I was like, nobody's going to do that. If you move your minis onto my scenic base for Archaon, I am going to pick up your mini and throw it across the room. No, I wouldn't do that. But I just ask, hey, please don't do that. You can just, I would just make Archaon a giant column, frankly, which means what? You're measuring base to base. So this is just one of those things that I feel like they got kind of trapped in by the rule. And in the case of most models, say like a guy on a 25 mil round with a sword, who cares? It's never going to be an issue. But for some massive scenic diorama model on a huge base, it can get funky. So, whatever. That one was a bit of a surprise to me. Honestly, though, reading through it, there weren't that many. I think the one that also caused a lot of controversy was the idea that war machines and crews were separate, which is how I've always thought of them. When we played our games, we always targeted them separately. Yes, that means war machine crews can die. Yep. Protect your war machines. That's my answer to you. They're a powerful tool, a thing that can put out just like D6 damage, with a big rend. Yeah, they're scary, and they're going to be target. No different than if I'm fighting you with monsters. My monsters don't get some magical protection of extra dudes floating around them. And those are going to certainly catch some cannonballs. So to me, it just sets up the right balance. But topic of the week is this, and it's also got a challenge in it. What did you think of the FAQ? Were there any that particularly bothered you or that you really liked and clarified something you enjoyed? What do you think of GW soliciting feedback? And here's the challenge. I want you, Uncle Sam style, to go out and read them and give feedback. Look, we've been complaining for so long that GW isn't interacting with us, and here they are. They're doing it. So don't miss this opportunity. Let's show them that we really meant it. When we said we want you to interact with us, and they said, okay, here we go. Let's do it. Let's go interact with them. Be positive. But be honest, right? I think that's the right answer. That's how you get a good response. So if you say, hey, I don't think this is as clear as it could be, maybe try some wording like this, or I still don't understand this rule, or I don't like this interpretation because it's going to lead to X, Y, and Z, I think, in games. That all seems like good feedback to give. So there you go. That's the topic of the week this week. We are entering bold new times, or perhaps it's much more like the 1990s. Either way, it's exciting. As always, thank you for watching. Look forward to your responses. All of those will be posted down below, along with the link to last week's topic on terrain you can find right down there. That video will contain all of last week's responses. And as always, we'll see you next time.